We grow when we give.
We grow when we give.
We grow when we give.
Nosotros crecemos cuando damos.
We grow when we give.
与えるとき成長する。
We grow
when we give. Welcome to ROG, Return on Generosity. I'm your host, Shannon Cassidy. This podcast celebrates generosity at work, not financial giving. Giving valuable time, mutual respect, alternative perspectives, and genuine collaboration. We have launched 63 episodes of ROG. Thanks for listening. This episode is an attempt to recap some highlights of what we learned. We grow when we give. Where does that come from? Back in 2014, I was looking at what's working and not working in my life and decided to start a new habit, journaling. Stay with me. I was always envious of people who journal. It seemed like such a good discipline and investment, like putting words to thoughts and feelings, capturing them in a way that you can reflect back to learn, recognize patterns, and grow. Now, knowing how miserably I failed with this pursuit in the past, I thought, I could write one line a day. How hard is that? So I focused on one thing that I'm grateful for each day. And so I took out one of my pretty notebooks that I purchased with the vision of journaling, and I wrote just one thing a day that I'm grateful for every evening. And it was incredible what happened. I felt feelings that I really desired to feel, like being present, intentional, appreciative, humble, peaceful, fortunate, abundant, joyful, surprised. Surprised mainly by the simplicity of the things that I wrote, like a text, a smile, a wag, a cup of coffee, a walk, a wave, an invite, the time 11:11, a hummingbird, a visit, a trip, a team, a leader, an introduction, help from someone, offering help to someone. And then I thought, I want everyone to feel this way. I want them to feel these feelings. So I created Grounded in Gratitude. It's a one-line-a-day journal to capture the little or big things each day you're grateful for. I sent it off to clients and colleagues as a holiday gift to express my gratitude. When titling the journal, I first thought growing in gratitude. But then I questioned myself, do we grow in gratitude? My hands started gesturing growth, like when you say whole wide world and your hands go up and around to signify growth. And then my hands reached down like I was saying, to the ground. And that's where gratitude is. It's at the roots. Gratitude is the gateway to goodness. And when we're grounded in gratitude, claw-like fingers pressing downward, we recognize our abundance. We realize we have enough. We are enough. And from that state of abundance, we recognize I have more than I need. And so we give. And when we give, we grow. Hands up and around, whole wide world style. Yes, that's it. Ground ourselves in gratitude. And then with our cup overflowing, we spill out to others in the form of generosity. When ROG, Return on Generosity, began in October 2020, a collection of friends and colleagues sent me recordings of their voices saying, "We grow when we give." You hear it in every intro and closing, and I wanted to share where that originated. We grow when we give. When we give our time, give praise, give a hand, give a damn, we grow together. It is a choice to give as a leader. And as our guests unanimously attest, it's a wise and reciprocal investment. I am incredibly thankful to our generous and inspiring guests on ROG who have shared their stories and discoveries throughout their lives and careers. One common theme among all the guests is that as givers, it may appear to be a generous act, but it's also a little selfish. Because when we give, it makes us feel so good. It fills us up. It's rewarding and it makes us better humans. There's a return on the acts of generosity. So what are some of the themes that we heard and topics? Well, we learned that putting on our own oxygen mask first is a way to demonstrate self-care, and it's really essential. And that having accessible tools for leadership and strategies and practices to enable us to be generous, like connecting people with others who might benefit from knowing them, knowing you matter, and the value of self-talk and how we talk to others. The need to ask for help. That was a theme. Many of our guests shared personal experiences of the challenges of asking for help, the joy, and in some cases survival that was possible because of another person's willingness to give, and how that enables others to grow. We grow when we give. To be truly generous, then, we need to give others the opportunity to grow too. And being an overgiver is the road to burnout and exhaustion. We need to ask for help, share the load, and give ourselves grace, compassion, and recovery. Our guest taught us how we invest in our future now through mentoring and coaching, and how generosity, when witnessed and experienced as a child, influences us, and the research shows that we are more generous as adults. We learned why it's necessary to have a generosity strategy to be a thoughtful giver. Another very common theme was the essential skill of listening and why we have one mouth and two ears. When creating products and services, we're encouraged to know what our customer really wants and needs. A resounding message from our guests was around encouragement and mentorship, coupled with courage to enable others' greatness and offer effective feedback. And then the trending acknowledgement of how generous it is to give the benefit of the doubt. Assume positive intent. 3 words that are really easy to say, not as easy to live. Like if I failed to ask how you're feeling soon after losing a loved one, you don't write me off as a thoughtless person. You generously give me grace and courageously let me know, it hurt when you didn't ask how I was doing. I know you're busy, but I could really benefit from your support right now. Or when we aren't included in something and think that we should be, we respectfully ask why. Maybe it was an oversight. Maybe you didn't need or want me there for a reason. Benefit of the doubt and the courage to learn more instead of making up a story and writing people off is a generous act. We were reminded of some key life lessons. Be kind. Everyone is still healing from things you know nothing about. Be who you are and be that well. Build social courage. Strengthen your mental toughness and resilience. Pay it forward. Handwrite thank you notes. Empower team members to lead. Give thanks to all people at every level and every role, and generously provide feedback often. We gained the wisdom of the most well-researched evidence about workplaces. The research concludes that what matters most for companies to thrive, psychological and emotional safety. That was a theme. And the number one thing that companies can do to be more inclusive is take the bias out of hiring and promotional practices. Make your personal life and business life better by clarifying your values and living them. Living them will often be very challenging. Guests shared experiences of being judged and even fired for living their values, and they'd do it again. The courage to stand by your convictions and establish boundaries around your sacred values is the work of generous and brave leaders. Some common themes from the AAPI Voices series: asking people where are you from is unkind. It makes the person feel other and like they don't belong. And the model minority myth is not a compliment. Please listen to all 5 of those episodes to hear the voices, stories, and reactions to ignorance and bias from our very special guests. Guests have shared how generosity saved them. Entrepreneurs who are losing it all, who kept giving and ultimately not only survived, but thrived. We learned about Juneteenth, Ramadan, pronouns, pregnancy challenges, and why more Black women experience medical issues. And it's not socioeconomic. The reason? They aren't being heard. Being heard and holding space for others to share is another very significant theme we heard. We had guests who have fought cancer. The life-threatening experience brought up this question: have I given enough? We heard a resounding theme around servant leadership, people first, listening, holding space, being grateful, and offering feedback. The Black Voices series offered awareness and respect for how it feels to be Black in America and as a Black professional. The overt and subtle racism, from being profiled as a threat just for being Black to being described as articulate or not like them. Please listen to the 5 Black Voices episodes to learn from the brilliant and generous guests who have shared their stories with us. We learned about blind spots, active listening, another theme, kindness as a hard skill. People give to people, so we need to get personal. Our Accessible Voices series aired throughout the month of November, National Disabilities Employment Awareness Month. My goal was to dispel the myths and uncover the challenges of employing individuals with disabilities of many kinds. Our guests experienced the challenges of being in a wheelchair, muscular dystrophy, retinal blastoma causing blindness, autism, paralysis, and osteogenesis imperfecta. They shared about the myths of hiring people with disabilities and gave us the truth. They are people. They are hardworking, resilient. Some need reasonable and affordable accommodations. They are loyal, dependable, and problem solvers. If you're in a hiring position, intentionally seek to hire people with accessible talent. Other themes from our guests: how to create a generous culture, the value of asking quality questions, how authentic storytelling matters, along with self-love, self-compassion, self-acceptance, and the allowance of micro-failures. We also learned a lot about empathy, compassion, and gratitude. There were so many inspirational quotes that our guests shared. They explained how the quote spoke to them and what it taught them. The quote most often shared is one from Dr. Maya Angelou. People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Interestingly, that's been one of my favorite quotes for years. As a keynote speaker, I always recite that quote right before I address an audience of any size. And as a high-performance team facilitator, those words echo in my mind as we work through the challenges of overcoming team dysfunction. And as a coach, the empathy, compassion, and accountability that I intend to share abundantly with my clients stem from that quote, that it's not about what I say, it's not about what I do. But what's going to last is how I make people feel. So I ask myself, how do I want to make people feel? Seen, heard, not alone, encouraged, permitted, accepted, challenged and supported, understood and accountable, worthy. Ultimately, I want people to feel loved. I want you, my beloved listeners, to feel all these things and loved. And similar to trust, generosity is the seemingly little things. It's asking someone if they're okay. It's asking someone who's been silenced to repeat what they said to amplify their voice. It's investing in a personal phone call to check in. It's writing a thank you note or giving just-in-time feedback. Generosity in the ROG context isn't financial giving or even massive investments of time and energy. The return on generosity is noticing these small moments that matter and filling in the space with the intent to serve, lift, and bring out the best in others. You know that generosity is the future of leadership, and maybe you call it something else, but your engagement in ROG tells me that this message resonates. The discussions about how generous acts help us to see a light in the dark is encouraging and motivating. It's giving us practical and tangible habits, ideas, and choices to put into practice in our own leadership. Your engagement is essential, and I want to learn from you and know what's working and how we can improve. So let me close with gratitude. This podcast gets to reach more and more people because of you. Every download, every subscriber, every listener, each one of you make a difference. And because of you, we went from being in the top 10% of podcasts worldwide to being the top 5%. The only way that a podcast gets to be in the top 5% globally is with loyal listeners. That's you. Thank you. I am deeply grateful. I am thankful to all of our guests, our production team, Susie, Sarah Ann, Ian, and Michael at Sheep Jam Production, Nani, Latoya, and all of you, our listeners who invest a half an hour each week to listen, learn, and grow with us. We grow when we give. Our first podcast of 2022 is with CEO of Barclays Consumer Bank, Denny Nealon. Until then, Happy New Year and stay generous, everyone.
Thanks for listening to ROG, Return on Generosity Podcast. Please help us grow by subscribing and reviewing us on your favorite podcast player. And for more information, visit bridgebetween.com. We grow when we give.
우리는 나누면서 성숙합니다.
We grow when we give.
On rayonne quand on donne.
We grow when we give.